How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps out, means a ton. You guys get plenty of fun stuff, not just Jujutsu Kaisen. We cover plenty of manga on the channel, especially One Piece. I'll have a One Piece review coming out after this, so stick around for that if you're interested. Anyway, getting into today's video, we got chapter 166 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I mean, it's phenomenal. What do you expect me to say? Kage Akutami put out a bad chapter? No, this thing is fire. So yeah, picking up with it, we get a quick little flashback with Higuruma back when he was going through like his law schooling and everything. And this older person stops him, this older guy, and Higuruma's like, well, I already turned all my stuff in. And he's like, no, it's nothing about that. If I remember correctly, you wanted to be a prosecutor or a lawyer? What about being a judge? So obviously, this guy was very impressed with Higuruma, not just from a brains aspect, from being good at law aspect, but if you recommend somebody to be a judge, that probably means you have a very high respect for that person's character. Getting back to what's important, anyway, so Judge Man dealt out death penalty and confiscation. Turns out that this is the highest form of punishment that Judge Man can give out. That kind of makes sense. I mean, what else are you going to do besides take away a cursed technique, well, cursed energy in this case for confiscation, and kill the person? What are you going to do after that? Add libel and slander onto it where you're gonna tell people all these lies about the person after they die? I doubt it. So yeah, death penalty and confiscation. We already know what confiscation does. It takes the curse technique, or in Yuji's case, who has no curse technique, it upgrades basically to your cursed energy entirely. So Yuji has no cursed energy right now. I mean, he probably still has it, but he can't utilize any of it. It does him no good. And death penalty, we come to learn, gives Higuruma access to the Executioner Sword, which is basically a lightsaber that pops out of his little mallet that he can like morph and do stuff with. And yeah, it turns out that if you are slashed with the Executioner Sword, you die. No exception. What? Excuse me. If you are slashed by it, you just gotta like, you're telling me Higuruma just, like, drops it on accident. Like, he, like, accidentally, like, kicks the curb trying to step up on the sidewalk while he's holding the Executioner Sword. And it just, like, gives you the itty-bittiest little tiny nick. And that's stupid. That is broken, okay? No, not fair. Anyway, this does not really deter Yuji. Because, well, one, I don't think Yuji knows the rules of the Executioner Sword. Otherwise, he might not have handled things. I don't know what Yuji would have done if he learned that rule about the sword. But yeah, maybe would have had a little bit less confidence. I have no idea. Anyway, we get to it, and Higuruma is thinking that if you understand a person's heart, you empathize with their flaws. A victim's flaws, an assailant's flaws, everyone's flaws, day after day after day after day. I've gotten sick of it. Hideous. That's what I've come to think when I see a person. So after dealing with all these flaws and all these bad people and these good people that also have these flaws, that all this just stuff, this nagging stuff at Higuruma's brain, he said, enough, I don't care anymore. You're all hideous to me. And he says, Yuji Itadori, you are no exception. All people are flawed and hideous. Doesn't matter if you think you are noble, doesn't matter if you have a noble soul. At the end of the day, you are still flawed and still hideous. What you see in front of you is just darkness, nothing else. Even if you try to light a light in it, it will simply be swallowed up by more darkness because that is the truth of humanity. You are no exception. And Higuruma is about to go at it. And then Yuji's just like, I'm gonna do my own thing. And pause real fast, okay? You really have to put into perspective how fast Yuji is with no cursed energy amping him in this situation. Yuji just runs across the room, throws a bunch of chairs and stuff in the air, runs like around behind it, has taken off his hoodie and his shirt. One of them was like left thrown up in place as a little distraction for Higuruma to notice. And then, after Higuruma noticed Yuji's actually over here, Yuji threw another one up in front of his face as an even clearer distraction to just block his view in general. So then Yuji can try to sweep his foot out, Higuruma jumps, and yeah, I think by this point the stuff had probably fallen, but the idea that Yuji threw all of these things in the air and was able to throw up another thing as a distraction and go around to the side and throw another thing. Because Yuji was like behind the chair. That's why he was able to get around and get that spot to where he could throw it up in his face before Higuruma could notice. Because he was hiding behind the objects he had just thrown in the air. That is like true level shonen stuff, and this is base Yuji with no cursed energy. This kid is stupid fast. What? That was wild. That was awesome. So yeah, I absolutely love it when characters do this, especially in shonen, where they'll like throw something up in the air or a bunch of things in the air, and they'll hide behind one of the things like while moving with the mass of like thrown moving things. It's just so cool. I love it. It's awesome. Anyway, one of my favorites. So yeah, Yuji pops out from behind it, throws the shirt up in Higuruma's face. At this point, he goes to sweep Higuruma's feet. Higuruma's pretty good, I ain't gonna lie. He decent. He's pretty clean. Not as clean as my boy Yuji in a fight. Yuji is too clean. Yuji is a boss, okay? He just is. I love it. He's one of my favorite fighters in all of manga and anime, honestly. But yeah, Higuruma jumps, misses the foot sweep. Anyway, this is when we get to go into the final clash of the fight. I was going to say chapter, but not. Well, I guess it's the final clash of the chapter. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Yuji's coming up with the fist. Higuruma's coming down with the executioner's sword. This is when Higuruma looks back on his past at this moment, being asked if he wanted to be a judge instead. And he says he wasn't looking for promotion, so he isn't suited for it. But also, thinking back on this whole people are hideous and this impurity about them should be hated. Turns out in the past, this same impurity, these same flaws, he thought is something that should be cherished. And this may sound strange, sort of, to some people at first, like flaws should be cherished. Part of what makes us who we are is the impurities, is the flaws. Now, we're not talking about big flaws, like mass murderers, serial killers, psychopaths, all of this stuff. Those are not cherished flaws. But little tiny things that make you, these things are part of us. They should be cherished, because if you don't cherish them, well, you don't cherish yourself, and you should. Not everybody is hideous. Some people are. Some people are the exact opposite. Some people are wonderful, beautiful, helpful souls, and those people should be cherished. So yeah, I think this is the moment where Higuruma will start to kind of mix the present and the past of himself. At least that's kind of what I hope we do. I don't want to see Higuruma just fully 180 flop all the way back to the way he used to be. I think he needs to learn, and I think he will learn, that you gotta judge a lot of people differently. You can't have one set rule for everyone and think that's always gonna work. Somebody's gonna come along and shatter that view of everyone. And this, I think, is what Yuji did. And the reason Yuji did this is because Higuruma already knows the evidence that was going to clear Yuji of his guilt in this case. But yet, Yuji admitted to it. And thinking back to all of this and what Yuji just did, it makes Higuruma undo his curse technique. The sword goes away, Yuji lands his big punch, sends Higuruma flying. It's an awesome panel, crazy moment, so good. And yeah, he is okay. I'm sure his stomach hurts. I'm sure that rocked him. But he's not like just about to die or anything. But he gets up and he tells Yuji to come here and to sit down. He's going to give him his 100 points. He kind of just wants to talk to him and see what's up. So he asks him, he's like, why did you say that? Why? Like, I already know what the evidence was. It was about the demon inside of you, Sukuna. He's the one that did it. He even fully explains it. He says, you lacked your cognitive functions. You were unconscious. You were not in control of your body. You didn't choose to give up your body. Remember, Jogo fed him all the fingers, force-fed him all the fingers, while Yuji was already unconscious to bring Sukuna out. All of this was done against Yuji's will, and there was nothing Yuji could really do about it at the time. So, from a lawyer's point of view, from Higuruma's point of view, yeah, Yuji's innocent. Like, that's just how it goes. That's the law at work. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. You're innocent, kid. And yeah, he tells him to sit down. He's going to give him the 100 points, all of this stuff. And he asks me, he's like, why did you do it? Why did you admit to that when it's not your fault? You are innocent. And Yuji's like, yeah, but still, it is kind of my fault. I was too weak. I'm too weak. I couldn't stop it. That's my fault. Real quick, I do want to mention the funny little moment where they're going to sit down, and remember Yuji took both of his shirts off during the fight to use his distractions and stuff, and Higuruma's like, sit down, I'll give you the 100 points. And Yuji's walking out, he's like, where's my shirt? Oh, found it. And you just see Higuruma sitting there, and you don't even see. Anyway, it was a funny moment. It's Yuji. You gotta love him. So lighthearted. Anyway, yeah, going past all of this, Higuruma also asked Yuji if he ever has killed somebody of his own volition, of his choice. And Yuji said that he has. And Higuruma can tell he's being very honest and very sincere. And Higuruma thinks to himself, or says out loud, either or, doesn't matter, that must have felt worse. Thinking that must have felt worse than even what Yuji is feeling about what Sukuna did. And Yuji already feels guilty about that. So he can only imagine, or you can only imagine, how horrible Yuji feels about doing it of his own volition, choosing to do it with his own two hands, with his body in his control, killing somebody like that. And Higuruma is having a memory of when he did the same thing, and you see two bodies lying in front of him. And yeah, I imagine this was like the court case where we saw him like activate Judge Man. I assume that's what happened there. That was the end of that moment, and he kind of came to his senses after that outrage that he just burst into, and he probably felt absolutely horrible about what he did. So he probably knows exactly how Yuji's feeling right now. Even though their circumstances might have not been exactly the same, he understands the pain, the guilt of killing somebody and feeling bad about it. And maybe Higuruma should feel bad about that, because go back and look at that little panel with that, because their heads were like gone. I think one of them might have been like behind Higuruma from where we were looking, but one of them was clearly in view, and there was clearly no more head on this body. And yeah, Higuruma uses a mallet, hammer, gavel, whatever. I think I've been calling it a mallet, would probably be a gavel for courtroom. Anyway, yeah. No more hit. Probably should feel bad about that one, buddy. But no, on a more serious note, this is probably what sent Higuruma so far in the other direction. So he kind of had this falling out with his previous lifestyle when he had that burst of just hatred come out. You could tell he was obviously a changed person right at that moment. He might not have gone like full, all right, I'm just going to be a delinquent, I'm going to do everything the opposite of how I used to. He might not have gone full 180 if it hadn't been for this moment. If it hadn't been for the fact that he went so far in that moment as to bludgeon these two people to death, probably with one shot, maybe not a whole lot of like bludgeoning, but yeah, anyway. So yeah, this might really have played into like how deep he went into this new persona. So yeah, I really hope that this is a moment where we see him start to, in the future, because I assume he will stick around at least a little bit. I assume he's not just going to completely vanish after giving Yuji his 100 points and we'll never see him again. I kind of doubt that. I think he's going to stick around for a little bit at least, if not the whole rest of the series. Anyway, yeah, I hope to see him kind of go through a battle of sorts at times where he's like, should I look at this from my old way, or should I have a more mixed approach to it, or is this somebody who would be best suited to be looked at in my new way, or the newer way, the way that you know what I mean, the smash psychopath judge man way, that way. Maybe if we see Kenjaku as a person, you should probably look at him in like, smash psychopath judge man way. I'm just saying. Probably how he should be judged. Probably would be getting, death penalty plus confiscation like times 10. I'm just saying, the dude's messed up. But yeah, this chapter was awesome. I've rambled on long enough. This chapter review is probably going to be too long. Oh my god, it's sitting at 20 minutes right now. I got to edit a lot of that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. I'm out.